Welcome to another episode of the Empowerment School, where we're making empowerment a daily habit. My name is Monish Sabharwal, and this is the video podcast that's dedicated to empowered living. My goal is to help you build more confidence and self-esteem and be more assertive by teaching you one empowering concept that you can use immediately. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about the importance and power of rapport. Now, the thing is, rapport is probably the most important ingredient for healthy relationships. And the problem is that a lot of people are out of rapport with others, and it causes all sorts of drama. So in this episode, I'm going to be talking about what is rapport exactly, and I'm going to show you ways to build rapport, and also so you know, there's also ways to destroy rapport. So by the end of the show, I'm going to give you some homework so that you can use rapport more intentionally, okay? And that way you can have healthier relationships where you're more empowered. So let's get right into it. It's kind of, we take rapport for granted, but rapport is really the presence of trust, respect and safety, harmony, understanding, and cooperation in a relationship. I just threw a whole bunch of things at you, but really, we know when we're in rapport with someone and we're not, okay? So for example, let's just say you meet some friends after a long time and you realize, man, they either dress the same or very similar. Or they talk the same. They say maybe dude a lot or something like that, and you start copying them. You start saying dude a lot too. That's rapport in action. Or maybe you ever met someone for the first time and you're like, this person's kind of boring. But all of a sudden they mention that they're from the same town, and you light up and they light up, and then you all of a sudden get into this deep conversation, and afterwards you're just so happy. You're happy we went to that place and you met that person. So that's another demonstration of rapport. Or maybe you're on the job, a brand new job, and you don't understand the lingo, right? Maybe it's a brand new job and you're still figuring out how to, what exactly are you doing? And, as you talk to people and you're trying to explain, oh, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, oh, you mean this? You're trying to accomplish this. And your language isn't matching, right? And it feels weird, right? So if you ever feel that, those are examples of being rapport. Now, rapport, right, is, I said it's the presence of trust and respect and safety, harmony, understanding, and cooperation. Those are really good things, right? And it's basically either the presence or you're establishing the presence of those things. So rapport is something you can engage in. Okay, you don't need to like someone or agree with them to have rapport with them. Okay, think of like coaches. I met a coach that actually goes to prisons and helps prisoners out. Now, she may not actually like those guys or girls that she's working with. Okay, but she is establishing rapport, because rapport is a very important ingredient that helps move the relationship further. So let's another way to say this is like, rapport is that you appreciate and respect another person's view of the world. Okay. So again, this is the thing, you don't need to be in agreement with someone's view of the world, but you actually have to show that you appreciate and respect it. Okay. And it's not about sympathizing. Someone says, oh, hey, this thing happened to me. You don't have to say, oh, yeah, well, this thing happened to me. That's sympathizing. Okay. But it's more like empathizing, where you can actually listen and you can, you don't need to do anything, but you just understand them. Okay. And you listen to them. Okay. You don't need to adopt that same sort of viewpoint or same state that they're in. If they're sad, you don't need to be sad necessarily. But it's really a demonstration of understanding their world. And when you can do that, you basically tell the person, hey, I really like you. I understand you. And that, obviously generates trust and safety and a whole bunch of other things. Let me also share, look, this is the thing. In the last episode, we talked about, I think it was the very first episode of the Empowerment School. I talked about the emotional bank account. Okay. And the emotional bank account is when you make deposits. And really, this is a way of generating rapport. So here are some ways again and if you haven't seen the emotional bank account episode, go back and see episode number 1 of the Empowerment School. And basically when you deposit into people's emotional bank account, you're doing a number of things that really demonstrate that, hey, I appreciate you. I understand you. I get you. Okay. And some ways to do this are matching the other person. That could be matching their language, matching how they're acting body-wise, body language, right? Mirroring them. Okay, these are sort of some tactics and techniques, I guess. But naturally, people do this all the time. If you go to a restaurant, you'll see people matching each other's body language all the time. Or they'll be speaking in the same cadence, which is really funny. But really, I mean, that's an easy way, matching the other person. Other things you can do is it's just general, that you don't need to, be manipulative or anything. Just respect the other person, and also respect their differences. Someone tells me something that I totally just philosophically or whatever, but I can listen to them. I can show respect to the other person, and I can have a dialogue with them. Okay, so that's respecting the other person. Another thing is to accept the other person. That's a very big one. Someone shares something with you, again, like you don't want to just reject them out flat. Just accept them. Okay, cool. Hey, your idea may be off, but I totally accept you. The sort of feeling behind it is I accept you. And it shows, this is a real big skill, is you have to listen. You're actually seeking understanding first. Okay, and that's the big thing. And you're caring for the other person, and you're showing interest. A lot of times people think rapport is just, I'm going to share common stories or something like that. No, you're actually caring for the other person. You could always improve on any of these techniques. Okay, and if you start feeling slimy about it, do it in a way that you start off small. You can match other people's body language, see how that goes, see if it opens things up. You can start, speaking less, try to understand more. One thing that happens is, if someone's sort of venting at you, rather than just being like, oh, no, you're doing the wrong thing, just listen. Start listening to them a little bit more. Allow them to vent. That's a really big thing that I've been learning. And that establishes rapport. It shows that, hey, you're listening and you're understanding the other person more than just trying to give them advice and make the problem go away. Okay? People don't want that. They want to be in rapport. So when you have rapport, people feel listened to and heard. There's a feeling of being liked and wanting to like the other person as well. If someone's establishing rapport with you, you're like, oh, okay, well, hey, I can like the other person too. And communication just flows. There's a lot of trust and understanding, and people feel connected, and there's a strong bond. When you're in strong rapport with someone, you can say the wrong thing, or you can do this wrong thing once in a while, and people let it slide. You're on the same team. Okay, so there's a lot of collaboration. I mentioned that before in rapport. There's a lot of safety and trust. You can have difficult conversation with the person, and they're willing to go there with you. There's no resistance, really. And really, one of the big things is that when you're in rapport, you're able to influence each other. Salespeople use this as a tactic all the time. They try to get in rapport with the other person. They talk to you and say, hey, how's the day? How are you doing? How's life going? And you can tell that when they're using it for manipulation, right? That's not cool. I want you to be someone who actually just naturally likes other people and generates rapport naturally, right? One of the things, obviously, the byproduct of all this, if I could sum it up, is that there's a feeling of sameness, right? That you understand my view of the world, and you understand where I'm coming from, okay? So sameness is a very big ingredient, or the byproduct, I would say, of rapport. Now, how can you sort of destroy rapport? That's important to understand too, and people do this all the time. People withdraw from the emotional bank accounts from other people, and that actually ends up destroying rapport, any rapport that was generated before. And basically you're saying, I don't understand you. Okay, mismatching, right? Someone says something and you don't use the same language, or you're not really getting what they're saying. Okay, putting the other person down, man, that's breaking rapport big time. Not listening, right? Someone's telling you, sharing you something important that they think is important, and you're like looking at your watch or looking at the clock. That's breaking rapport. Being selfish with people, right? Putting yourself first. No, rapport is more of a state of, hey, I understand you and your needs, and you understand me and my needs. We're establishing that. Being dishonest to a person, people hate that. I hate that. Everybody hates that. Being dishonest is a great way to break rapport if that's what you're trying to do. Another thing that breaks rapport is being ruthlessly angry to someone. So this is the thing. People can have tonality. They can mention something. If you say, hey, do you think you can pick up that box? And you say, yeah, I can pick up the box. You're breaking rapport with the person. Even though, yeah, you're going to go pick up the box. But, that angry tonality breaks rapport. And I say ruthlessly angry as well, that, if your emotions are too extreme, people are like, wow, you basically put trust and safety, you put safety at risk, right? And that breaks trust and rapport and all these things. So these are ways that you withdraw from someone's emotional bank account, okay? So when you don't have rapport, what happens? Well, the relationship falters, okay? People are walking on eggshells, they're worried about saying this or that because they don't want to start getting in a conversation that breaks the rapport that's established in the relationship. When you break rapport, you also you sort of create more stress for yourself and the other person. Why would anyone want to break rapport? It happens, right? But you do that, and what happens? It causes stress for yourself. You're not in rapport with the other person. And sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes it's important to break rapport. I'm not saying that being in rapport all the time is a good thing. Sometimes breaking rapport works as well. And we'll go into that in another episode as well. But first of all, you need to know the rules in order to break them, okay? So typically when you start breaking rapport with people, they start getting stressed here and there. It starts adding up. So the thing is when you have a relationship with poor rapport, communication is poor and there's no listening. Okay, salespeople, they can't sell you anything. You're not going to go with anyone when you don't have rapport established. You're not going to be influenced. In relationships, man, if you don't have a rapport with your significant other or your boss or other people, man, good luck trying to, ask them to do something or, just have a good, fun time with them and enjoy life and get things done. It's going to be very difficult. Okay? So this is the thing, right? When you have rapport or when you don't, what's the underlying thing, right? The thing is that people have their own view of the world. And here in the video, you can see that I'm showing a picture of a window, and there's blinds. I don't know why this picture has like a menorah below it or something like that. But anyways, there's a window and there's blinds, and all of us go around the world with our own blinds. We see the world in a different way. But, this is the thing, that people tend to operate on the idea that their view of the world is the real world. Okay? And so you might have someone you meet and they think that, it's all about making money. Your team, everything you're doing, work, everything's about making money. That's their view of the world. Whereas your view of the world might be like, hey, no, that's not the case, right? There's good people out there too. So you have a mismatching of your view of the world, but we act as if our view of the world is the real world. Okay, and in that example, I wasn't trying to point out which one was a good one or a bad way, right? One way might be a little bit more empowering than the other, right? You might get more in trouble with another way of viewing your team or whatever. But the thing is, it's not really good whether it's good or bad. It's like, look, those two guys, one who views the team as just out to make money or the company out to make money, versus the other one that, no, the company's trying to make a difference. The two of them, in order to be in rapport, you got to understand each other's worldview and appreciate it and not judge it. So that's really key if you want to move that relationship further. So rapport needs to be there because we view our view of the world as the real world. Okay, it is that way. And of course, as you grow, it's not the case. You keep on expanding and evolving and your view of the world changes. But it's very important that we respect others and respect their view of the world and make deposits. Okay? You don't need to agree with their view of the world. Okay, but you should definitely respect who they are as well and listen to them and understand them and all those things that rapport is about. And I believe that actually helps so much on teams and relationships and everything. So let's get in a review. This has been a really good episode on rapport. Let's get in a review again so you guys get this concept very clearly, okay? Rapport is the presence of trust, respect and safety, harmony, understanding, and cooperation in a relationship. Okay, if you don't have rapport, people don't cooperate. Okay, if respect and safety is not there, there's going to be big issues with communication and trust, of course, right? And if you break trust over and over again, if you're taking out from someone's emotional bank account, you're breaking trust. And there's no way there's going to be harmony and understanding in your relationship. Okay? Another thing is, you don't need to agree or even like the person to be in rapport. Think of even like back in the day, there was kings, right? Evil kings, and there's people out there who had to serve the king. Okay, you meet the king, you're still going to be in rapport with them, maybe not. But people out there, they used to work in the administration, and they would be in rapport with that person, and they didn't have to agree with that person. They could still talk to them, and influence would be there. There are people who could turn you around or turn that person around. So that's very key. Another thing is, you can either make deposits to establish rapport or withdraw to break rapport. And you can do that so subtly with tonality. You can do that with behavior. You can do that by looking at the clock when someone's talking. Okay, there's so many ways to break rapport. Another thing is that, the sort of output of rapport is that there's a sort of sameness feeling in the environment where rapport is present, right? So there's this feeling of sameness, or you sort of establish, you have this feeling of connectedness with the other person. Even though you may not be on the same page, you can still connect with them, All right, so this has been our episode for today, but I want to give you guys a homework assignment so you start, being more conscious and aware of rapport, because like I said before, we take it for granted. Okay? So this is your homework. I want you to start noticing when other people are in rapport. I was looking at somebody's pictures on Facebook, and I noticed there was a bunch of guys, and they were all dressed in like really sort of, I guess you could say GQ outfits. But I noticed like all of their friends were the same way. They all dressed in very expensive clothing. And I was thinking, oh man, those guys are in rapport. They choose friends because of, maybe, I don't know, because of the clothing style. But when they meet someone, that person dresses the same, most likely more rapport is created. Okay? So we tend to hang out with people that we like. We tend to hang out with people who are similar to us. That just means that we like people who are in rapport with us. Okay? So the next thing I want you to do, just start noticing. That's the first step. Second thing is, I want to have you ask yourself, how do I get in rapport with someone else? How do I get in rapport with someone else? I see girls do this when they see another girl or meet another girl that they possibly will like or want to get to know. They always compliment each other. They say, "Oh, nice shoes." One way that I get in rapport with other people easily is I make jokes, and I smile. People like smiling, and I make the other person feel good. I want to listen to them. I want to understand them. I listen and I ask more questions rather than just talk about myself. That's generating rapport. And we'll go into some techniques and tactics for rapport much later, but I want you to understand this concept. Okay? And then the last thing is, first thing I want you to do is notice the rapport out there. Also start noticing, how do you generate rapport? What's the strategy that you use? And then lastly, I want you to start becoming aware, in conversations, ask yourself, is this creating or breaking rapport? Okay? And again, with the tonality, right? You may have a disagreement with your significant other, your wife, your husband, but see where, if you're having a conversation, you get angry and see how that breaks rapport. All of a sudden, the other person gets defensive and you guys are not on the same page. So a lot of times we actually break rapport and we're not aware of it. Okay, and there's also times where we create rapport as well. Okay, where we're listening, where we're understanding, where we're seeking to understand, where we're showing interest, all these things, where we're making deposits. That's establishing a lot of rapport. So just start noticing it when you're doing it in conversations. Okay, and notice how other people start doing it. All right, guys, this has been another episode of the Empowerment School. I really appreciate you guys listening. For more empowering videos, go to www.theempowermentschool.com. That's theempowermentschool.com. I'm on YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/theempowermentschool. And, I have a Facebook page as well and all that stuff. But just go to the website. You can find out all that stuff. And, start doing the homework. Make sure that you do it. It's going to be very key for making you a better, more empowered person. And, we'll go into this topic even more later on. And I'll show you very specific techniques for establishing rapport. So if you have any questions about rapport, if you have any concerns or comments, leave them on the Empowerment School. There's going to be a post for this. So I'd love to hear from you. All right, guys. Well, till next time, I want you to practice these techniques and really stay empowered. I appreciate it so much. This is Monish. Talk to you guys later.